Mark it. Go on.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, sweet. Right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So what role did music play in like the early years of your life when you were young?
Not a massive part. I can't say there was a lot of music in the house. My dad was into sort of big band jazz stuff, sort of in the 60s. That was his thing. So obviously you're not really into that. It was my brother really who got me into everything. He's a bit older than me, a few years older. And he used to come back from town. We lived just outside of Manchester. And he's come back with these amazing records, you know, the Stones and the Beatles and stuff like that. And you got to remember when I was 15, a long time ago, it was when the Manchester thing was happening.
Yeah.
And so you had this sort of juxtaposition of the classic bands like Bowie and Lou Reed and all that stuff my brother was into, and then stuff actually happening on the ground. Like I went to Ali Pali when I was 14, Spike Island, you know, so you were kind of balancing it. It was weird, you know, it was like these rock stars like Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, but then these guys in the Stone Roses, like, I can kind of relate to that a bit.
Yeah. So it was more your brother so it was more your brother than your parents.
Yeah, my mum was into like Cliff Richard.
Yeah, sweet.
You know, as mums are.
The OG rock and roll star.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, the original rock and roller. But no, yeah, it was my brother really. And all our mates, just, you know, everyone was into music, everyone.
What inspired you to be part of the music industry?
I'm not in the music industry. But if you mean like what inspired me to start playing, again, my brother, and there was a guitar knocking around, an old jazz guitar, my uncle's, and we'd all play like one riff on it, you know, sort of Smoke on the Water. And then, yeah, just, like I say, at that time it seemed that everyone was getting into guitars again, and it just sort of, it just struck a chord with me, no pun intended, and I just picked up the guitar. And there was a few of us who started playing guitars, a few mates, so it was a bit healthy, competitive sort of thing. Have you done that? Oh, what's this? Listen to this, you know. So
yeah. Did you have that with your brother as well a bit?
He's just a listener, my brother. He doesn't play any instruments, but yeah, just inspiring and listen. You've got to watch, and you know, and VHS was big at the time. We were like talking about VHS. So we'd come home and he'd go, watch this, and you know, and taping stuff on late night TV. Yeah. So it was just a fertile musical environment.
Was that stuff that was on like BBC? You know, was it? I know it's older than
Sounds of the 60s.
Yeah, that stuff. It was like what was it, like Grey Whistle stuff?
Oh, Grey Whistle Ted.
All that stuff.
Grey Whistle Ted. But what you got to remember is that like you just couldn't get hold of stuff. Like when stuff was on telly, it was amazing because telly was just like boring, dull nonsense, and you'd have these little pockets. You know, Top of the Pops was Phil Collins and all that stuff. But they did show like the Old Grey Whistle Test or Sounds of the 60s, not like they do now on BBC Four. They were few and far between, and you had to set your record
once a week.
Once a month, but you'd trade VHSs. I remember coming around to where we are now, India House, Manchester, and we sort of traded VHSs with me and Noel Gallagher. You know, like, oh, here's a Beatles one we've recorded. Oh, I've got this Stone. Couldn't get. There's no YouTube.
Yeah, of course.
You know, there's no YouTube. It's VHS cassette. And then you went and bought your vinyl. So you had to work for it. You know?
Yeah.
To work for it.
I like that. I like it. I feel like it's like.
Too easy.
Yeah. It's too easy now.
We'd be buzzing and go, yeah, I've got this Beatles concert from Hamburg. No one had it. You could buy stuff. I tell a lie. There's a guy in the Corn Exchange in Manchester, pre-bomb, pre-96. And he used to sell like copied VHS, not originals.
Like bootleg tapes.
Yeah. And he charged it. We wanted Performance, you know, the Nick Rowe film. Everyone, you know, loved Performance. And he's like, yeah, it's 30 quid, which was an astronomical sum in those days.
Mental.
30 quid. I think you signed on, you got 25 quid a week. So that's like more than you dole for one crappy copy. But you went and bought it and then you traded it. So that's how it was.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your music? How would you describe it?
Now, I wouldn't. That's not my job, really. People do ask me. You know, you say, "Oh, I'm a musician and I've got a record out." And say, "What type of music?" Yeah, and it's not for me to say. You know, I can tell you what influences it. And
what about this then? Tell me what you feel like has developed or changed from when you started earlier on, and what you get to now.
So as I was saying,
musically,
with the early days, and really into like the Velvet Underground and Lou Reed, and going into rehearsal rooms and doing that, and we all wanted to be in a band. The main thing was to be in a band. You know, like a gang. You hang around together. You go to the pub. You go rehearse. You go do gigs. So the whole ethos was to be in a band and get a record deal. And that kind of changed in like the early noughties. Yeah, advert and the internet and all that, you know, record. I'm sure there are record deals, but I don't think bands sort of aim for that anymore. Yeah. That was the thing. You get a deal, your life's sorted, you know.
That idea,
you made it. And then, so, you know, over time that changed, and I didn't want to be in a band because I'm not very good at delegating. And you just sort of find your own voice. When you're in a band, you have to compromise, don't you? And, you know, it's like, and I wanted to be in the Rolling Stones, and I wanted to be Keith Richards, and I'm not Keith Richards. So you got to find what you're good at. You know, the only thing that I can do is be me. Yeah. And just find. So it's.
But again, it's like a thing where it's like you might take time to find who that is as well. So that's what I mean. It's like the development of what your music is from the start was like you hunting for it.
You're hunting to find your way, you know. And the bands that make it, you know, they just find their thing immediately. Yeah. What is them, you know, not anyone else. Yeah. What is them?
It's really clear as well. You can just see it. Like you'd be like, that's what those guys are.
But the majority of bands are searching, and you know, you're doing cover versions and copying the bands that you're inspired by. Yeah. But yeah, it takes a long time. It took me a long time to find out, I'm not Keith Richards.
Yeah, sure.
And but I can't do that, but I can do this, you know. And that's like sort of mates and producers sort of guiding me towards that. And I kind of felt it myself, like I've got quite a low voice, as you can hear. And I was trying to sing these rock and roll songs, you know, like belting it out.
Right.
And I remember like singing along to the Beatles and thinking, why can't I? I can't sing this. It just takes you a while going, no, you can't, because that's Paul McCartney and you've got to sing down there. So then it's like, listen to Leonard Cohen.
Well, this leads me on to my next question, which is what musician do you admire the most and why?
I still love all those original artists.
Yeah, they were like what brought you in. Almost.
Yeah, and the Roses will always have a massive emotional sort of impact for me because it was just when I was 15 and that. Yeah. But yeah, as I've gotten older, I got into like these, I guess, sort of solo. One of my many ex-girlfriends said, "You're just into dead white men," and I said, "Yeah, kind of am. A lot of them aren't dead. Leonard Cohen's dead.
They're not all dead."
I used to, you know, I'd be putting stuff on, and she'd be like, "I don't like this." I'm like, and she eventually got to like when I forced it.
Yeah.
She got to like it, but yeah, Leonard Cohen, Tom Waits is a massive influence because I like people who are just driven and have like a vision and a completely unique. There's no one else like Tom Waits, you know. I love him. And Lee Hazelwood's a massive influence because again, he just went on his own path. He wasn't part of a group. He wasn't part of a scene or anything. It was just some random guy doing his own thing. And cool. they're like inspirational figures.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So something a bit lighter. Just give me like a story about playing like, you know, like a wedding or a pub or something. Have you got anything that was mad, like Mad One or anything like that? Or?
I mean, I was never in covers bands like our mate Jimmy, who grafted it. In retrospect, I would have liked to have done that because that's where you learn your trade.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's an amazing guitarist. I'm not. I'm kind of like, okay, I'm a decent guitarist. I'm a picker and a bit of a singer. And we sort of looked down on covers bands, which was a terrible thing to do. Because that is where you learn to be a great musician. You put in your 10,000 hours like the Beatles in Hamburg. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
No, just like a story about playing in a pub or in a wedding.
I mean, there's always like crazy gigs, and you know, you'll turn up at the Dog and Duck, and there's no microphones. And I've done. The thing is, with bad gigs, you kind of get through it and then pretend it never happened.
Try and blank them out.
You just like erase it.
There's never been anything where some dudes like launched a pint at you or something. Or like,
well, it wasn't the Dog and Duck, but we played Finsbury Park again, supporting. I think he was on the bill. It was Shaq, the Charlatans, and Oasis. This is like early noughties.
Yeah.
And we were first on. I was in this R&B outfit called Proud Mary. And anyway, we walked on stage and there was already about 10,000 people there. I think its capacity was like 50,000. and Greg, the lead singer, a few bottles started coming. It was only midday, but this is like some festival.
Still, yeah.
And he said, I hope there's no in those bottles. And I just looked at him and I went, what have you just said? And I just went as far back on because I was on the guitar. So I just stood right near the drum riser and he just got pelted, you know. He's up front. I said, why did you say, you don't
put ideas in people's minds.
Don't give a crowd an idea like that. So yeah, he kind of looked at me with a look of fear on his face. Like,
you've done this to yourself.
You're the singer.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, well, this kind of similar vibes as well. Just tell me about what, in your kind of feeling, was like your best gig or performance that you feel like you've had.
I say we did one. It was just before lockdown, wasn't it? You would have been there, the Band on the Wall, and because I was only doing one show. I was supposed to do one in Manchester, one in London. London one got cancelled because it was just on the cusp of COVID.
Yeah, it was.
So I put together this I wanted to do like a big show. It was a 9-piece band. We had Jimmy in there, we had Chris Hillman.
Yeah, it was great. You had some brass. You had some brass, didn't you?
We had some brass and some keyboards, and we had Caroline and Amanda on backing vocals. So it felt like the band, The Last Waltz or something, this big sort of Scorsese. It looked great, everyone looked great, and we all sort of, dolled up.
It did look mint,
And it's a beautiful venue, the Band on the Wall in Manchester. They'd done it up, carpeted. So it was like a really lush gig, because I have done the ones in the basement, with no microphones. So it's nice to actually play a beautiful,
like a legit.
I mean, I've played some beautiful halls and, sort of small theatres. Theatres. In my time, but that was a nice one. It was good because it was Manchester gig and everyone was there.
Yeah. It was a rad gig, that.
Yeah, it was good.
Yes, but also, I guess you've done like little kind of intimate stuff that's kind of like bars and things in other countries and stuff like that.
I did played a bit in Europe about when we were on the second or third album. Love playing Germany. They really look after you. They really pay well and they really look after you and take you out afterwards.
Amazing.
And all that, So we put like this little tour and we ended up playing. So we played in Hamburg, Berlin, I think in Munich. We went round anyway, and they're all really cool venues, different types of venues. And it culminated in this festival, which we turned up at in a field near Berlin, this Air Force. So it was a mad place. And everyone's going for it. Like, we turn up in the van. And it turned out it was a bit of a dance festival. Like, why are we playing the dance festival? It's not really dance music. Anyway, we turned up on this stage, which was this mad psychedelic stage. And they were dancing. I thought, this is going to be everyone's dancing at 2 PM, going for it. Beautiful weather. And they sort of announced me, and everyone sat down, listened for about half an hour, 45 minutes, really appreciative, and then got up and started dancing. I thought, that's cool,
That's rad, that.
Because it was like, we'll chill out for half an hour, listen to some music, and then got back on it.
That's sweet, man. That's cool.
That's always good.
So, how for you, or how do you think in general? What do you think about like the internet and social media? What's it done to like music and all that stuff? Yeah,
it's kind of the end. I was thinking earlier today about the AI thing, and it's just going to be so much content. It's going to be self-perpetuating. It's going to go mental, isn't it? It's going to go crazy.
I worry about it because of like in the sense where it's going to be like such enormous quantities to find anything that's like real or find anything that's special just becomes much harder as well, because you're just wading through.
It's a giant haystack. I mean, there are positives. A lot of my records have been made possible by the advances in technology, recording on computers and recording remotely. So that's the good part of it. But the sort of delivery. I mean, I'd love to finish my album and go, right, that's the artwork, bye. And then the record company just sells the record, and I'll go and do the gigs and all that. Yeah. But that's just the beginning of it when you finish it.
Yeah.
It's like, let's, like what we're doing now. Hey, kids. It's all out there and promo and doing this and that, which is fine. It doesn't bother. This is great. We're having a cup of tea.
Yeah, indeed.
I kind of don't think about it. It's one of them. Yeah. And the same with AI. I've just put it in a box and gone, I'm not thinking about that.
I think if you're smart about it and you kind of like, you're flexible and stuff, there'll always be ways to kind of...
People always want the real.
Move forward.
People always want the real. I listen to a lot of radio and I can listen to Spotify and stream music, but it's always nice to hear a voice at the end of it. Tell you what it is. and you know, a little bit of information. Don't talk too much, DJs. Just get on with the music. And then, you know, you've got a connection then, and someone's a tastemaker.
Yeah, that's nice. That's always nice.
Because then, like you were saying,
it was like what your brother was to you when you were young.
Exactly. Someone you admire, and you go, "Oh, he's got good. I like what he does."
Yeah.
Otherwise, you kind of just in a sea of what's that? There's a word for it, isn't there? You just don't know what to choose.
Yeah. It's paralysis of choice.
Paralysis. There you go.
Yeah.
He knows what he's saying.
But like, so that leads me on to one last bit then about finding the real. I was just the last question I got was like, what do you think is like the saddest song that you've ever heard?
Blimey, the saddest song
Look
ever.
at that.
Yes.
Or that you've ever heard, you know, though it might have affected you obviously, you know, differently than.
Yeah, no. Any song can be said. It doesn't have to be like a lament or a ballad, because it's a lot. What I always say with songs,
it become connected
the memories,
within a moment. You know?
Songs and memories, like, you know, you listen to sort of people on Desert Island Disc. If I went on Desert Island Disc, and that's me, I am asking. I'd just choose the songs that I got into when I was about 15, because they have such emotional resonance. You know, what you were doing, your sort of awakening and your discovery of music. And I guess my top 10 songs would be from that time when you sort of, and you know, you're going back to someone's house, smoking some weed and really getting into it and really experiencing it for the first time and realising how amazing music is. One song.
Well, one or two from that time. Anything that kind of pops in mind from that kind of them, if that's the period.
There's a Bee Gees song called "To Love Somebody." Loads of people have covered it. They wrote it. Amazing song, and their version. We used to play that a lot, which is a bit incongruous because it's not like, you know, we're like young lads listening to a love song by the Bee Gees, but it's amazing. And the vocal, Robin Gibb and Barry Gibb's vocal, it's got like this vulnerability.
I'll need to check it out because I thought you were taking the piss.
No.
Because seriously, absolutely, it's one of them where you're like, I mean, because I never listened to them when I was younger because they were kind of past by the time that I was listening to stuff. So it's like a thing now where all my interactions with it are very much just like feel like dancing or something, or, you know, like, or things that are like a Saturday Night Fever or Partridge or something, you know. Very Partridge to me.
It's a bit like ABBA in that you don't hear it anymore because you just heard it a billion times, so it's lost its resonance. They had phases, the Bee Gees, is like the disco bit, which is brilliant, Saturday Night Fever, and then there was like the Wilderness years before that when they fell out a bit. But when they first started, when they were like, you know, three brothers who lived in Chorlton, by the way, Keppel Road, they wrote these sort of 3-minute pop tunes that were just amazing.
Right. New
York Mining Disaster, To Love Somebody, Got to Get a Message to You, and the 60s production. Listen, it's up there with the Beatles, some of it. It is absolutely phenomenal songwriting.
Well, so, I had the same experience with you, that you kind of pushed me into listening to like Monkeys stuff.
The Monkeys?
Because I had the idea in my head that this was like a piss take,
joke band,
assembled joke band or whatever. And then when you were like, oh, you know, go and check these. But and I was like, holy shit, like this is amazing.
Dudes are amazing. Mike Nesmith was amazing. They're all great musicians. And you kind of get lost because you see the public perception. Yeah. Go deeper, and there's actual. Again,
we're back round to that tastemaker thing.
Exactly.
Like you need that person to help you.
Yeah, well, that's how the way it always was for me. That you go, you know, we talk a lot about movies, and you've turned me on to so many great movies that if I'm just searching the internet, there's no chance. I'm just going to get led down some mainstream bullshit.
Yeah, I know it's a
wormhole. So it's all about, you know, I would say just find the cool people.
Yeah.
It's easy. Go and find the cool people.
And then ask them.
Yeah, suss them out, check the clothes out, see how they're holding themselves. Go and talk to them. If they're an idiot, move away.
Next one.
If you get on with them, say, do you want to go for a drink? Let's talk about music and films.
Well, thank you for that, Nev. Absolute pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, Will.
No worries.
Good questions, mate.